everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's on the Tube, or welcome back if this is your 14th Walker Season 2 episode review for you. And man, were things just a little bit supernatural. Yeah, okay, corny aside, yes, this is the Jensen Ackles directed episode of Walker that we've known about for quite a while, which, if you don't understand, Jensen Ackles and our leading man, Jared Padalecki, did another show before Walker called Supernatural, which aired for 15 years. So this kind of felt like a mini Supernatural reunion of sorts. Obviously, Jensen wasn't in the episode, but it was kind of like a thematic, you got a lot of Supernatural-esque references, which I think perfectly meld into kind of the small world that Walker has built. My only real whenever TV shows make a big deal oh, this person's directing, is it really? I mean, normally they bring a unique chart, but it doesn't really change the format of the show. There's a difference when a Alan Taylor directs Thor 2 and a Taika Waititi directs Thor 3. So there's a difference there. When it comes to TV shows, you don't really get to see much of a difference unless you know the director ahead of time. I remember when Kevin Smith directed episodes of The Flash and Supergirl, he brought a little bit of his own unique Easter eggs into the mix. Bringing in, on the Flash episode, Jay and Silent Bob into the world of the Arrowverse, to name an example. Here it was mainly just for the lockup. Hey, if you're a Supernatural fan, you're gonna hear a lot of random Easter eggs and a cool thing at the end. And honestly, that was enough. We will probably never get to see the Winchester brothers again anytime soon in the immediate future. But this kind of felt like a team up of sorts, because Jared's been doing his own thing for a while. We know Jensen's about to pop in The Boys in June for season 3. So both of them are doing really great things as well. I forgot to mention Castiel's actor, Misha Collins, has been cast to play Two-Face in the Gotham Knights series, the pilot that's been ordered at the CW. So whether or not that becomes a full series, it'll be another great addition for the Supernatural Trinity, let's say, to kind of move on from the show and kind of do new things, which is cool, which is a very cool thing. I like it when people move on to other things. It's awesome to see. But with this week's episode of Walker, we head over to the fair, and at the fair, this mostly felt like at times as this was a big extravagant event, so it's meant to be more fun and festive, but it does kind of give you some character moments. It kind of gives you some developments into where things are going into the final stretch of Walker episodes. And I really enjoyed this week. I don't think it's one of the best, to be honest with you. It definitely kind of we were winding down a little bit. We were having some fun most of the time, which is fine. It's fun. This definitely was meant to be kind of that calm before the next storm, because, everyone's on kind of vacation this week from work. So everyone was kind of just, let's go to the fair. Let's have some fun. Let's unwind a little bit. And that was kind of the purpose for this week. And honestly, it worked out very well. And yeah, and this was the absolute perfect episode for Jensen to kind of slide in, make his little Easter eggs, and then pop out to go back to the boys. So let's go for the Butcher recap and talk about this week's episode of Walker. So we begin with... I know you get a kind of... I don't entirely remember. Yeah, so we're at the side stool. The Walker and the Walker kids are kind of looking for some actual houses to live in, because it's actually kind of ironic that they had their own house, and then Grandpa Walker said, sell that house, move Ben back with us, because this is what you need, Ryan. You need more family in your life. And as soon as that happens, less than a year later, he's not living on that ranch anymore. So that other house would have really been beneficial to have. Honestly, even for me, I'm prematurely thinking right now of future stuff that it's nothing to mention anytime soon. But I was thinking well, if I was to hypothetically move to another state, I could just rent out this house, the house I currently live in, which I do own, and just have it be well, I'll just make money off this house by having to rent out the both floors, and then make some money like that. So, make a little extra money for me, pay off the mortgage. So it's that's what I was thinking. So I didn't know why Walker didn't do that, to be honest with you. I'm pretty sure there would have been tons of people in the area that would have loved to rent out some rooms in that house, but whatever, it is what it is. So now they're looking for official properties. Jerry shows up to start her ship, and of course, now that everyone knows she's a Davison, it's a little bit awkward with some of the Walkers that you're related to the people that kicked us out of our house. Which again, Walker's walks that fine line of look, you are a Davison by blood, but that doesn't mean that you have to be Davison. You choose your own family as you get older, which is still very much true. And Jerry understands that, and she tells him that, yeah, I did have a little bit of a sit down with Grandma Davison, and it went okay. It went well. It was not a total catastrophe, let's say, and they're on good terms. They're on good conditions. So that's really good to hear on that front. And you know what? It's been a long hassle for the Walkers, for everyone in town. Let's go to a fair and have some fun. Eat some corn dogs, eat some fried Oreos, go play some stupid games that are clearly rigged to hell, and go enjoy this Kansas concert. You know, let's just enjoy that. So they're all heading off to the fair. Grandpa and Grandma Walker and Liam are at their new rental unit for a while until they figure out where to officially move into next. And they're taking it kind of chill. Obviously, it's been a few weeks removed, so I'm pretty sure all like the struggles of adjusting to life post losing the ranch has definitely already kind of mostly come and gone. So they're kind of just accepting the fact, like, yeah, this is life now. You know, as long as we're together, we'll figure it out. But right now, let's just figure out how to how to get to this fair in one piece. And, you know, and thankfully, Grandma Walker is the smart person of like, let's save some money. Let's not buy expensive ass country fair food that is clearly not healthy for you. And let's just have some pre-packed sandwiches, you know, some water bottles, maybe some chips, you know, have some fun. Definitely sounds like my dad. Kid you not, every time me and my dad and my family used to go to an amusement park when I was younger, my dad would try so freaking hard to sneak in food just to save some money. And every time he tries to, he fails because they just get more stricter by the year. Where it's like, as soon as they see an aspect, maybe water is acceptable. They'll accept water bottles to go through, but definitely not food. Like if they see any sort of ounce of food, it's getting thrown out to the trash. So I don't know what to do, but you know, you figured it out there. So they were about to bring in some sandwiches in a cooler, but the only big size cooler they have left is sadly Cordell's very unkempt, unclean cooler that's filled with a bunch of expired beer. So they're like, you know what? Let's just buy some country fair food. Let's buy some churros. Let's boogaloo. So yeah, I think they're already at the fair. It's Texas Ranger supported, so almost all the Texas Rangers are there. Well, at least all the important ones are off for the day, so they can enjoy the fair with their families. I guess all the grunts and all the newbies are probably just sitting back of the chair, just holding down the fort. Because again, crime never takes a break, so. James is showing around Cassie around the area. So this is her first official Texas Ranger Carnival. And, you know, James is kind of like, I don't know why. I got the vibe from this week that, like, maybe James is coming a little bit on to Cassie. Maybe that's just my eyes playing some jokes on me. But it was kind of, you know, nice for him to like show her around, see how the fair's like. And, you know, obviously Cassie's still holed up on the whole, her ex-partner, where did he end up type thing. And she still wants to like eventually get back to making that her full-time priority now that the whole Davison feud is kind of like died down for a little bit. So that's going to be her next focus once this carnival's over. And she's obviously a little bit worried because her Dallas Rangers that she was working with before she transferred to Austin, since this is like a big state carnival, like anyone from the Texas Ranger unions can just show up and participate. So she fears that the Dallas ones will show up as well. But James is like, don't worry, if anything happens, I got you. I got your back. We see Trey in the distance playing some strong. It's been a while since we've seen Trey. It's been a little bit. Thankfully, they smartly did not try to shoehorn him in the last two episodes, because as much as he was getting close to the Walkers, it made more sense for Jerry to be there than Trey. As much as like, yeah, they're all like, and of course, obviously with James too, but it made sense from a thematic standpoint for Jerry to be there, not try to fit every one of the series regular into the plot somehow for some technicality, just to be in the scene. So I do appreciate that they did that. I did appreciate that. So he's back. He's meeting Cassie for the first time, and honestly, yeah, even like he and Jane has a little bit of like a side exchange, and obviously we all know that it's about Mickey. You know, this is like the official last nail in the coffin that she's never coming back. So they're about to have a side conversation about this, but Cassie spots her old captain coming through the distance. He's very civil, but kind of like a smug dickbag, and I've seen those types of leaders before, which is very unfortunate. So he's like said, there hasn't really been any updates on the case, you know, and, you know, you really can't access it anymore because it's a conflict of interest since you were his partner. So your judgment's not the right mind to be handling this investigation, even if it was properly yours. And also another realization that Cassie felt personally is that the wife of her partner is now dating this captain, which I'm like, well, it's been 7 months, so I'm not. I don't know why. Like, and Cassie's still like, well, what if he comes back? What if when he comes back, like, how is he gonna feel that you're sleeping around with his old captain? Which I'm like, again, fair assessment, fair point there. But at the end of the day, like, yeah, there's still no clue. Like, life has to move on eventually. Like, you gotta keep going on, and her just staying in standby with the aspect that maybe he'll come back. And let's be honest, in reality, sometimes these types of people, they don't really do come back. Maybe you'll find their body down the road, and that provides you with some of the closure you need to move on. But some people are like, you know what? I can't stop life now. There's too much to do. I have to keep going for my kids and for myself. So, c'est la vie, let it be. So, she's dating him, and that's all that matters. Cassie storms off because she's hella pissed, and now she needs to know exactly what's going on with that investigation. So she's going to ask Walker to kind of assist her in that matter, since Walker still promised her that he would help her in any case with this investigation. The other Walker family shows up, and Stella and August are off doing some their own independent teen things at the fair. Cordell and Jerry kind of kisses is like one of their like early first dates, this is like the first time they're out in public as a couple, and everyone's already like assuming like, oh, they're the Walkers now, and I'm like, oh, that's great. That's kind of like a great sentimental sign that time to move on and such. They even participate in this very cute game, like a trust game, where the male partner is blindfolded and they have to go for an obstacle course with their partner, telling them what to do next. It's kind of like a level of trust. Like the faster you are and the correct you presume their directions, the stronger your connection is. And of course, Walker and Jerry easily aced that. They went like this really giant stuffed animal. But Jerry's getting blown up by Grandma Davison. She still wants to get to know her more, get to be in her life more. But of course, Walker's like, you know what, go talk to her. Begin forging this new relationship with your new mom or your birth mom or however you want to call it. Just so you know already. I want to say, I know there's an arcade scene with Stella and her boyfriend's kind of a bit. He's not bad, but he's still not understanding that, like, Stella's going through some emotional stress right now with losing her ranch. And he's more along the lines like, look, I know what you're going through, but we're here to have fun, and so let's just have some fun, get your mind off it. And Stella's like, okay, but there has to be moments in this relationship where we have to talk about serious stuff. It's not just having fun, going on the fun dates, it's not just that. When you're in a relationship, it's good times and bad times. So he does need to understand that sooner than later. So eventually Walker and Jerry run into Cassie, and Cassie's begging Walker to help her get some insights from her captain about whatever he does really know about the case, because Cassie's not going to get absolutely anything out of him because he doesn't really like her, but he doesn't know Walker, so Walker's her best chance to get some sort of information. Jerry gives Walker her blessings, like go off into this like side investigation at the carnival. So they over to like, I guess, the bar area for the carnival, like, the alcohol section, that little section with the sippy sip, stuff like that. Cordell's a bit unsure if he really wants to do this, since, all of this is like speculation on Cassie's front, and again, accusing a Texas Ranger captain of doing something is very career suicide as a move. So they have to absolutely certain that this is legit, this is a real threat, and that it's actually something we need to really worry about. So, so Walker agrees because he did promise her earlier on that, like, no matter what she has her inner crazy mind, he's gonna go through with it. So, he heads off. It's very casual interrogation, but of course you're talking like two Rangers talking to each other. Like eventually it kind of gets fussed at the real details, or at least the real intentions of this conversation. So it doesn't really give Walker anything to really go on. But the major crux of this comes from Cassie confronting the wife of the partner, and the partner's like, and the partner's wife is like, I had enough. Look, the only reason why I moved on with the captain is because there was some new evidence that came out while you were away, and yeah, that kind of basically proved that, like, I do need to move on. So it turned out that they found the gun, which was Cassie's original gun. They found it 20 miles off away from the crime scene, and a witness came forward where they did witness Cassie's partner being tied up by a mysterious assailant, getting tied into into a van, and then once he was inside the van, he got shot. So the blood was in the van, all the splatter, and the casings were on the ground, away from the blood. Now, of course, in TV logic, like, number one rule when it comes to TV watching, if you don't see the body or you don't see some sort of flashback that confirms directly that he's dead or she's dead, most likely they're leaving that ended to like bring back that character down the road. Similar to how Glenn from The Walking Dead, that whole, like, not his original death scene, but like the scene before in season 6 where he gets torn apart by walkers, and that's what people assume, but it was a big fake out. It turns out to be a dead body on top of him. So the walkers were eating the dead body, but they weren't eating Glenn. So a lot of fans were like very excited that that was the case, and it kept it going. I guess that's what's being classified here. I guess in a way. I mean, it's still a little sussy because, blood spatter goes 360 everywhere, so that's still a little bit contrived, but for the time being, that's enough for them to say, look, it's over. And the captain's like, look, I didn't want to date her. It was just, there was no prerequisite feeling. It was just, I was visiting her often to get updates for her on the case. And eventually, once there was no updates and I kept checking up on her, it became just a little casual conversation, then realizing there was a genuine connection between them. And, I mean, honestly, for me, like, when it comes to moving on, in terms of, like, let's say hypothetically, if a partner of yours was to die or to be away, I would still give it maybe about a year or so. I think that's the thing about that, is that it wasn't a breakup. It was a forceful goodbye where it wasn't any of your faults. It just happened. And that's a lot of unresolved feelings that you need time to kind of reassert yourself and figure out what it is that you are now that he or she is gone. So that's kind of where I do get it to an extent why she moved on fairly quickly. But since this was like I would have given it another couple more months before she would have jumped the bed with him. But whatever, it is what it is now. So they leave it off there. I know we cut back to like this weird section of the fair, which is like a bunch of like vendors and stuff like that, and the grandparents, Walkers, and Liam are just exploring, and of course, obviously, beforehand, Grandpa Walker wanted Grandma Walker to talk to Jerry about, her knowing there was another Davidson child, but her not pushing the Davidsons in the direction of trying to look for this child. So Jerry at least has some sort of a guilty conscience, like at least talk to her about it, at least make her understand, like, look, it wasn't my place to say anything, especially at the time, about the situation, so I kind of let it go, which Jerry does understand, but she also is now on the Davidson side of things where she understands that side as well, that, well, if you had told them earlier, maybe I would have been found earlier, and maybe I could have spent more time with my family instead of like just being thrown into their lives in my 30s already. So that I understand is a bit of a hard sell to make, but again, it's still too new, this connection, so you really need to like watch who you're saying stuff to, because as much as Grandma Walker did keep this secret among many other secrets, she still cared for you. She still loved you as like one of her own. Damn, that was the first time in like forever I yawned on camera. It was the first time in a while. Anyway, moving back onwards. So their conversation ends kind of awkwardly. I'm trying to remember if there was any other scene with anyone else. No, I think we just get to the concert, which is like actual Kansas being there. And I don't know why I'm still thinking of Power Rangers Super Mega Force, where the Mega Force Rangers are watching two of the Samurai Rangers in concert. But it's, well, and clearly they're both, this is not the same scene. These are just the Mega Force Rangers in a very different environment watching archival footage of these two Rangers singing on stage, which I'm like, that was the laziest piece of shit I've ever done on the planet. But here, like, even though we don't get to see the Walkers and Kansas together, but they confirm, they were all in the same areas as the way they shot it. It couldn't be 100% showcase like that, but it was cool. Again, that was the big reference, the big Supernatural reference, is Kansas performed the semi-official theme song for Supernatural, which was Carry On My Wayward Son. And to hear that majority in its entirety in this episode was kind of like a very much of like a nod. Like, of course, obviously it has Texas roots as well, the South roots, but also in general, like, it was a big, like, thank you to the Supernatural fans that are still supporting Walker, still supporting Jared's career, currently. That is like, thank you so much for supporting Supernatural. So here's Walker. So I honestly thought that was a very nice gesture. That was very, very nice. And also shout out to Jensen actually trying to get them to come involved in this project, which thankfully they did. So I appreciate that. During the concert, Cassie's revealed to is getting drunk from the whole revelation about the case, and Jerry's still getting texts from her mom, Grandma Daverson, and at the moment, it seems like, Walker's just trying to joke around, say, like, hey, come on, you're at a concert. Let's just, turn off your phone, have some fun. But Jerry's just trying to, I already missed so many years of my life with this woman. I mean, a concert is nothing to me. There will be plenty of other concerts. Now's the time I should be reforming my connection with her. And she is, very thankfully, she is. But also she's getting mad that, it seems like since my outing as a Daverson, some of your family members, especially you at times, are kind of presuming of me to be a little bit different, even though I am a Daverson. That doesn't change anything. She's only had one meeting with her, so it's not like she got corrupted or anything. So Walker does apologize for that, but Jerry's like, you know what? I think it's best that we take a pause in our relationship right now so I can focus on who I am now that I've discovered this new side of myself, and where does that take me? Which Walker definitely understands. He definitely is very mutually agreeing on that. It does suck because, they were so good together, and hopefully they'll get back together down the road, but it does really suck. It really does suck on that front. So they break up. I know heading outside. Oh, I forgot. Stella and her boyfriend had an argument with I already forgot his name. Kit Daverson. And this was Kit Daverson's first attempt at trying to make an apology to Stella since the Daversons winning the race, and he does not handle it well. He does not handle his communication skills well, and Stella does not take it lightly. He even has a word with his brand new Aunt Jerry, and Jerry's always great with advice, so she finally gives him some advice that does definitely help him at the end of the episode, where he does reveal to Stella that, yes, I wrote you that song. I didn't want to tell you because he didn't know how Stella really felt about him, and he didn't want to risk losing the friendship he had with her, so he decided to stay quiet about it. So that was the thing that came out. So he gets that advice to be more communicative to Stella, and Stella obviously reciprocates, not the feeling, but just reciprocates the feeling of just wanting to get back to being where they were before everything happened. So it was very nice, a very nice sweet moment between them. Yeah, so the last thing is Cassie is drunk as hell. She walks into a psychic tent, and Trey notices her. And they talk for a bit, and Trey points blank with her, honestly, that, the only reason why I was whispering to James earlier in the day is because Walker's old partner, Mickey, her and I used to be very close, and when she left, I always felt like it was still a good reason to believe that they're keeping Walker's partner position open for Mickey's return, and then when she does come back, it'll kind of be sliding back into things normally. But now that Cassie's been hired, it's kind of it's really not going to happen. So he's kind of still sinking with that reality, because he loved Mickey a lot. He really did. He gave up so much of his original aspects of his life to be with Mickey, and now she's gone. So how does one really deal with that? And I'm not going to say he was trying to jump ship to Cassie. I'm not trying to say that at all, but I definitely feel like this was another one of those. This is going to be a very unique relationship between these two if we get to see more of them down the road, where Cassie decides to indulge him and play a little game of the prediction cards, and some of them are not entirely very good for Trey, which is very ominous speaking, but Cassie's like, this is just make-believe. You're fine. Nothing's going to happen to you, and there's some reassurance. They take a shot of some whiskey or vodka or whatever the hell Jerry's drink. Not Jerry. Cassie's drinking. But then the real psychic shows up and what the fuck are you guys doing here? Get the fuck out of my tent. Go, go, go. Let me not make $0 an hour. Just leave. But to close out this episode, it ends with the captain from before, from Dallas, driving to an unknown trailer in the woods with a bunch of supplies, mostly water and food. And while it's not revealed who opened the door, we know that, okay, yeah, this was definitely Cassie's partner. He's still alive. He's being held hostage by this guy. So the question is now, why, when, and how? That's kind of like the question is. And that's definitely kind of set us up for an interesting third section of the show, because it's not technically related to the Walker Davison, but it is fitting into the overall season 2 storyline. So kind of a weird place, but like, hey, you know what? I trust the writers long enough to trust in the story that they're telling and to continue onwards with what they're telling. So I'm game for whatever they have to showcase next and to see where that goes. So yeah, that was it for this week's episode of Walker. So for me, again, just to kind of recap it to a kind of a simmer point, this was definitely a character-driven episode, a filler at times, but it was nice to give these guys some fun after once in a while, relieve some stress, not have any sort of like gun shootout or firefighting going on. It was mainly characters interacting with characters and their interesting dynamics, and that was fun. This whole new mystery is definitely curious to see, and given the Walker timeline of things, it will probably get resolved a couple of weeks when we come back from break. And yeah, it was very, very fun to see a carnival. I was like, oh god, COVID must have been a nightmare for this to be approved, because like I don't even want to think about it. Like that just sounds like a whole tailspin of a dream away. But also another thing, kudos to Jensen Ackles for directing this week's episode of Walker. Cool Kansas cameo. Even though I only liked them from that one song, they're still pretty cool here. They were still pretty cool. I think they're still playing. I think they were still playing a full set there. So that was fun for those people to like experience that live. Yeah, so other than that, I really enjoyed it. I had fun with it, and I can't wait to see what direction we go in when we come back at the end of April for the remaining episodes of season 2. So yeah, I'm gonna give this episode 2 thumbs up. I enjoyed it as always. Let me know in the comments below, what did you think of this week's episode of Walker? Let's talk about it. Let's have that conversation down below. So please feel free to hit me up. And yeah, so that's going to be it. So again, I'll see you in the comments. But until then, this has been What's the Two from ActionX, reviewing every episode of the second season of Walker. If you want to know what we're doing normally, What's the Two besides our Walker episode reviews, we're currently doing rookie episode reviews each and every week after a brand new episode on Sunday nights, after a brand new episode on Mondays on the on ABC. So stay tuned then if you care about Walker. We'll be back in a couple weeks for the next episode. So we're off next week for a break, and then we will be back the next week with more episodes. So stay tuned until then. But again, this has been What's the Two from ActionX. Please subscribe to us on youtube.com/ActionX videos. Ring that bell for notification when our next episode review is live. Please also like, favorite, share this review if you want to. And please also follow us on social media. So until we see each other again in a couple of weeks, I'll see you guys till then. But for all you members of the Walker family, stay safe out there, be good to each other, and as always, peace out.